Our beloved 8% Hard AF Seltzer is now live in over 2,500 locations across the United States. We're now available in Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, North Carolina, Ohio, and Texas. Go to hardafseltzer.com today, click on the store locator, enter your city or zip, and find the nearest location closest to you. Welcome to Drinking Bros, presented by GhostBed.com. Yeah, welcome to Drinkin Bros, kids. I've been waiting for this show for a long time. Gentleman to my left, Mr. Ron White. No, not that Ron White. The memory expert, Ron White, walked in, and on my calendar, it said the memory expert was coming today.
Right.
But I didn't know what your actual name was, and then you said Ron White, and I was like, oh, well, Christ. And then you seemed like a nice man and everything else.
Like
and I go, what do you do? And you go, I'm the memory expert. And I was like, holy shit. I've been waiting for this. One, I've got a terrible memory.
Right.
I carry, a lot of people ask why there's always a Sharpie in my hand and like writing on my arms. That's because my memory is that awful. If I don't write on the back of my hands what I need to do throughout the day, I'll forget it. So every day you're going to find something scribble on me somewhere. Can you fix me, first of all?
Well, the other Ron White, he can't fix stupid. I can fix stupid.
You can? Okay, good.
You got your work cut out with you.
Yeah, today.
For this guy.
Today. It's bad. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened over the years with memory. Is it age, or is it some people can just do it automatically?
It's both. I say as our processing speed, how fast we process information, will probably peak between the ages of 27 and 30, early 30s. That processing speed will start slowing down about 0.5% to 1% every year as we age.
What if you do meth?
If you do meth, that accelerates it.
Does it really?
I
Drugs does?
Oh, sure.
I kind of feel like meth would help for a little while, though, right?
It hasn't helped.
It's like taking a cortisone shot, right? Like your shit's getting fucked up, but it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, I guess so. We try to play, this is dead serious. My wife and I try to play Jeopardy every night.
Right.
So at least keep the memory sharp and you're thinking of things and all that other stuff. That's it. That's the only reason why we do it.
Neuroplasticity, right?
Yes.
Firing neurons to keep them in shape, just like you would work out.
Correct.
Makes sense.
And then doing this show on a daily basis, I get to learn about brand new things, talk to brand new people every single day. Every day is a mystery. Clearly it was when you walked in today.
Right.
I would have worn a memory expert t-shirt. That's just me.
Right.
But promote the brand, Ron.
Right, I know. I don't have a t-shirt. You like my Walmart t-shirt here?
I like all of you. You get a Major League hat on from Charlie Sheen.
Yeah, from Baseballism. That's a great company, by the way.
Awesome company.
Yeah,
we love those guys.
They need to make more stuff, but it's a good company.
They have brick and mortars now.
I know. There's one at Texas Live.
There was, yeah. I took my son in there for the home run derby. It was great. We got some merch in there.
Yeah.
It was awesome. But over my life, I have met people who have incredible memories. So my background is Hollywood, movies and all that other stuff.
Okay.
When I was directing and producing films, there were certain actors that I would hire because I knew they could memorize anything in like a matter of minutes, and it was easy, especially on an independent movie when you're moving around a lot. And like Range 15, for example, was a good one. Most of those guys, and I don't know if it's having a military background, all of them could memorize very, very quickly, and they were very good with dialogue. Actors, it's hit and miss. I was one of those people that I had a page count where if it was over 6 pages the night before, terrible with the rest of it. But I was good for 6. I could memorize 6 pages. Couldn't really go beyond that, and it cost me a couple jobs because I didn't want to bomb doing it. Why are certain people born with a better memory than others?
Yeah, well, you go to the military guys, perhaps focus is the first key to your memory. If you're not focused, if you're not paying attention, you're not going to remember anything. I mean, you walk into a room and somebody says their name and you're not listening, you're not going to remember it. So perhaps these military guys that you worked with, they knew the importance of being focused and all the time. They'd been in situations where it was life or death, what their focus was. So perhaps they had an ability to focus that the other guys didn't have, and that gave them an advantage. Also, maybe some people can just naturally visualize stuff. They can kind of see the words on the paper. If you can imagine something as a picture, the odds of you remembering it skyrocket.
I see words in my head when I'm talking.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's autistic. No, I mean, for real.
Really?
Oh,
Yes.
relax. But yeah, I see like words when I'm memorizing a word or a number, I literally see a picture in my head. I didn't know that was associated with memory. I thought I was just a fucking weirdo.
Well, you could be both.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. But you have Asperger's, right? So, like, doesn't that help?
I don't know how it affects memory specifically. I mean, I think when he's talking about focus, yeah, it would, because one of the things you can do is tune out all the external stimulus that's not specifically what you're trying to do, right? That's the purpose of Adderall, for example, right? Is to tune out all the excess noise, put on blinders so you can just focus on one thing. That's what it helps with. Because one of the symptoms of ADHD is also prolonged focus on you get super hyper focused on one thing for a little while, and then you just fucking lose it again, right?
Okay.
So maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know.
So I'm good with times. I can set a time for something, focus within that block, hit writing-wise, I can hit a page count. Memory-wise, I could memorize 6 pages worth of dialogue and material and all that stuff. But after that, there's some things that I just can't do for whatever reason.
Well, some people are going to say, hey, I'm great with names. Some people are going to say, I can remember numbers easily, or hey, I can remember scripts easily. And probably if those things are happening, it's because your brain is somehow making sense of it. Our brain has trouble remembering things that don't make sense to it, right? So if you're good with numbers and math and all that, you're probably going to remember more numbers because the numbers make sense to you. They mean something. If you're an actor, maybe you know the story of the movie. You know the plot line, and you know what's supposed to happen. So that it makes sense to you, so it helps you remember the lines. If you can make something make sense to you in any way, whether it's crazy or silly, it'll help you remember it.
So mine as a kid always was flashcards.
Right.
So whenever I was studying for tests in college, all the way through college and grad school and all that other stuff, it was flashcards. And I had to physically write it down, see it, and then card over and over and over and over again like that.
Well, somebody with a good memory is probably just doing that in their head.
Right. And that's my point. And I clearly wasn't born with that gift, because that was pre, too much drugs and booze and all that other stuff.
Right.
Like these guys, we leave the doors open to the studio. Anybody can come in and drink hard AF seltzer, come and hang out, watch the show. I've met them before, but I don't know their names. Dead serious. I can't remember people's names. And if you go back, like if I gave you my phone directory right now, you would go through, and all of it is like, all right, Brian, bald.
Right.
Courtney, huge tits. Like that's what it is.
Well, it's me too.
Can you forward me that last number?
Oh yeah, Courtney. We'll see if Courtney's still single. But do you know what you're saved as?
Dan Black Rifle. That'd be
Dan BRCC.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's the only way that I could associate, because I know a lot of Dans.
Right.
We got another one back here, and when he started work here, we had to come up with a nickname for him so that way it was different than the other Dan. So he's Delco. We call him Delco, and then he's Dan, and then that kind of clears up the confusion, at least for me and everybody else in the office. But I don't have that gift that you do.
Well, you're talking about just having a good natural memory.
Right.
Right.
And what he does is something quite a bit different than that. Nobody comes out of the womb being able to memorize a deck of cards in 1 minute and 27 seconds, for example, which is one record he held for a while. Like a deck of cards, you flip them over, you go through all of them, 1 minute and 27 seconds, and then he can hand it to somebody else, and they can pull them out in order, and he recites them front to back.
So you're saying
That's right.
you taught yourself to do this rather than being born to do this.
Exactly. And that's kind of, my message. I always tell people, I'm not born with a naturally good memory. I learned a system. I was an average guy, average memory, but I learned a system, and it's no secret. I'll share the system. It's called the Mind Palace, or the Memory Palace.
I was gonna ask if it was Memory Palace.
Yes. So have you heard about that, just in general?
In general, but Sir Arthur Conan Doyle talked about it back in the day.
Yes.
Yeah.
You were talking about Sherlock Holmes before we started here today.
He mentioned it in the early part of the 20th century.
Yes.
So
yes.
Yeah, I've known about it for a while. I think my brain does some of that stuff automatically, because I have a really good memory, and I just kind of visualize things. It feels like you're walking around looking for clues, or facts rather. You know what I mean? It's kind of interesting, but I don't do it on purpose or anything like that. I feel like I should give it a shot at some point, just out of curiosity to see how it really works.
Yeah, and for the audience today, if you guys are watching at YouTube, and for the audio listeners, we're going to test Ron live on air, and I'm amped. I've been amped about it right before we came on, and I really want you to fuck up, so we'll find out.
And I might. I might. I'm a little nervous right now.
Because, look, you've been
I've
on...
had such supportive environment here. I might.
Yeah, Ross has been shit-talking him the whole time.
Oh, yeah. Dude, before the show started, I'm like, man, I hope this guy fucks up. Because you've seen him on Good Morning America, Martha Stewart's show, Fox and Friends, CBS News, CBS Early Show, NBC. You've been everywhere.
Right.
Doing these little tricks and things like that. Before we get into some of those games, has Hollywood people, have they hired you in the past? Have people hired you, CEOs and things like that, to create a better memory?
Yeah, Topher Grace from
yes,
the
I know
70s.
Topher.
Yeah. So he flew me up to California, and I coached him a little bit on how to remember his lines.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Well, and it was on a podcast format. It was live. You know, he put it out there for everybody. But yeah, he wanted me to coach him on that. But we did a live show about it. But the CEOs, that's what I do for a living. I'll speak at conferences, at conventions. I'll stand at the door. 100 people will walk in. I'll shake 100 hands as they walk in, and then I'll get up on stage and I'll say, if you're one of the 100 hands I stood up or shook, stand up.
Yeah.
100 people will stand up, and I'll say, you're Dan, you're Ross, you're Steve, you're Lisa, you're Jesse, and then they will all sit down.
So I know why Topher asked you. So let's take that 70s show, for example.
Right.
That script that he's getting once a week, because that was back when they were doing 22 to 24 episodes.
Wow.
And a brand new one every single week, is roughly 35 pages. Topher
Wow.
was the lead, so you got to memorize 35 pages every single week. And it helps if you know the other actors' dialogue as well. It's extremely helpful. So I understand that. Soap operas are the hardest, by far.
Oh.
And that is the best training you could ever get as an actor, because you're doing a 1-hour show every single day.
Wow.
So you're getting a brand new 60-page script every single day that you have to memorize.
Wow.
You get 2 takes at it. So let's say your scene is in the morning and you guys are shooting at 7 a.m. Now let's say an actor in that scene fucks up that scene 2 times in a row. They push that scene to the end of the day to punish them, and then all the other actors in the scene are pissed off, because then you're not going home until 12 hours later, and then they tell you to go back to the dressing room and memorize those lines. So that's why Topher probably had you. Plus, he was rich enough; he was getting $1 million an episode towards the end. You fucker! Like, I didn't have that. I mean, I made some decent money, but not Topher Grace money. Jesus Christ, man! So that's wild to me. With the CEOs, what do they want to know?
Well, you think about it. You're a CEO. You got 100, 200 employees in your company. What's the benefit of being able to walk around and call your receptionist by her name, ask about her husband by name, build relationships through remembering names? Or you're a CEO. You want to stand up in front of a group and give a presentation and not read your PowerPoint, not read your notes. You're more credible. There's so much to learn, in business or in what you guys. There's always stuff to learn.
For us, it would be if this was a corporate environment, not a bunch of knuckleheads. My main goal would be to know not to tell like a weird joke to somebody who had personally experienced that weird event. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, because I say a lot of fucked up shit.
Yeah,
I mean,
tons.
not that I care about offending them. Yeah. I don't care that I offend you. I just don't want to go to the trouble of having to hire somebody new.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't have time for that bullshit. So if I could avoid those pitfalls, tell her all the jokes, and then fucking go over to Steve and tell him the ones I wouldn't tell her, then we're all set for the day.
Exactly.
Right?
And like there was a dude whose wife was Asian. I didn't see her because of this monitor right here. And I said, "Are you married to a Neezer?" Now you learned before the show started what that's obviously the medical term that they call Japanese.
I did
people.
not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
Well, it
just
turns
in a
out she
dictionary,
was Korean and not even Japanese.
And you know what I said, Ron? I said I don't care.
Yeah.
It's all the same to me.
Yeah.
And
here's Ross's feelings on that. If he can't find it, the 2 different places on a map, you're the same person.
Yep. And I don't care after that.
Technically it's a disability. So if you make fun of him for it, then you're kind of a dick.
Exactly. You better be rolling yourself, dude. You know, in a wheelchair. We got to see something from you.
Well, yeah.
I don't care if it's para. If you're full fucking quad, obviously I'm going to care. But if it's para, it's like, sorry about it. And Ron, you're looking at me right now like you're going to get canceled, and I'm sorry for that.
I'm going to get canceled. No, dude, I don't care. I know who you guys are. I'm fully prepared for this. I'm fully prepared to get unfollowed. I'm fully prepared for everything, and I don't care. Yeah. I've done what I wanted to do in my life. I live where I want to live. Everything else is gravy. Let's go.
All right. Then let's get into it. Who's the most high-powered CEO you've worked with?
Well, you're probably not going to know his name. But I'll tell you, it's the craziest thing that's ever happened to me in 33 years of teaching memory. I started when I was 18. I'll let everybody do the math, 33 plus 18. But a couple years ago, maybe a decade ago, 15 years ago, I'm in giving a speech at a conference. And I memorized a 50-digit number for him. And I said it forwards and backwards. Guy in the front row, he said, Ron, if you teach me how to do that, I'll give you $100,000. And I thought, well, what is he talking about? He's already paid me to speak here, and it definitely wasn't $100,000. He's joking. Mm-hmm. So I went on with my speech, and at the end of my speech, 30 minutes later, I said, I'm going to say, it's kind of like icing the kicker. You give them a number, and then 30 minutes later, you have them repeat it. But it's impressive when you wait 30 minutes. So I said, all right, now 30 minutes later, I'm going to repeat it. A guy at the back of the room named Jerry said, you know what, Ron? I've been studying this 50-digit number. I can say it now. And the guy on the front row, Brent Ryan, who offered me $100,000, he turned back to him and he goes, Jerry, if you say the number, I'll give you the $100,000. And I'm like, what? I already said it. What? Wait a minute, this is for real? Who the hell are you guys, Jerry at the back of the room says the 50-digit number. I'm not kidding you. Brent Ryan, that's his name in Dallas. Brent Ryan walks over there, writes him a check for $100,000. 3 days later, Jerry emails me and said, Ron, I cashed the check. The money cleared. It's in my bank. I owe you dinner. I'm like, you don't owe me dinner. You owe me a car.
Yeah, you owe me fucking half, dude.
But we went and had dinner, and then I approached Brent Ryan, and it's a little extraordinary, but I said, hey, I'll coach you how to memorize all your employees' names, and I will charge you. And to me, it was an astronomical amount of money.
Yep.
But I had a feeling this guy had a lot of money.
Sure.
He didn't blink. And he paid it to me, and I do have permission to use his name. He told me, but that's the craziest thing that's happened. I'll say there's been some big CEOs, though, in the meetings.
I think, like Dan said, it is important, though. Like, it really is. And some of the most impressive people I've met in my life are so locked and in focused that you feel like you've known them for 30 years, remembering who they are, things about their family, and all the other stuff like Dan's saying. It really helps. It really is important. We just meet so many people on a daily basis. It's just so hard, man. And I don't know anybody's names.
You want me to? Nobody can see them but me. But I could tell you how I could memorize these guys live in front of you and show you how I'm doing it. Give you some advice.
Okay,
you want me to do that?
Yeah.
So, sir, what is your name? Colton. So to remember anything, you got to turn it into a picture. What's a picture for the name Colton? Can you think of anything?
Horse.
Colton Underwood.
Baby horse.
A baby horse, a colt. Now we got to pick out something unique on his face. So this is the time to make fun of him. What's
semen. Semen. If you run a black light.
Yeah, exactly. There's semen all over that face. It's in his beard.
I think his eyes, his eyes are he's got those beady eyes or something. They're not beady eyes, but I would see a colt horse in his eyes. Next time he's walking through that door, I would try to look at his eyes and imagine that colt horse again for Colton.
Well, what's the prompt to make you think of a colt horse in his eyes, though, if you don't see him for 6 months and you see him walk through the door?
Well, the prompt is his eyes. So if you gotta, this is what you gotta commit to. You gotta say for the next 21 days, every time I meet somebody, I'm gonna turn their name into a picture.
Okay.
You meet somebody named Steve, that'll be Stove. Lisa, that'll be the Mona Lisa. And if you can build up a glossary, like an encyclopedia in your mind, and that just takes practice. It's gonna take you a month. It's not fun.
No, that's how vocabulary works, though, right?
That's how vocabulary works.
Yeah.
And that's I love the way you phrase that. Because people tell me, Ron, I could never do this. That's too much. I say, do you think you could learn Spanish? They're like, yeah, I could learn Spanish. I said, it's the same thing. You're learning the vocabulary of memory.
I mean, speaking is thinking, right?
Yeah.
That's what it is, really. Like, you're just thinking out loud. So the two are the same. It's just like different iterations.
Is Gary here? Is Gary Faust back there?
Let's try to teach Gary something.
Yeah, bring him up. Grab a microphone back there. No, we're
What
live.
do you need
We're
2
live.
minutes for, you piece of
Jesus
shit?
Christ, dude, we're live. Yeah, give me 2 minutes.
God, what the fuck?
To do a bump?
He came to work today with no clothes on. He's just digging clothes out of the front.
Yeah, dude. A box of Black Rifle T-shirts just showed up, and he just grabbed one like he lives here. Give me 2 minutes.
I just shit my pants almost.
We're live on air. Great. So here's a perfect example with this dude, because he's such a piece of shit. Easiest name to remember for me, and it's like, oh, dude, that's Gary Faust. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for you, what's a trick for you with this guy?
Well, see, I don't try. So Gary for me is a garage, right? But the important thing is
Why is Gary a garage?
it just sounds the same. G-A-R, garage, Gary.
Okay.
But you want to get an image for a name that every Gary is a garage, every Colton is a Colt. You don't want to make the picture specific to the person, because then I'll agree with you. It would just be too much. You want a standard set of 200 or 300 pictures that are going to be obvious. Oh, dude, that guy's getting crushed by a garage. And boom, it slams on his head, and we tell ourselves a crazy story. He's getting decapitated. If we actually saw it.
Everything you just said, I thought was actually going down, because that's Gary's life.
Or once I realized it wasn't actually going down, now I could picture it happening to Gary.
Yes, over and over again.
But that's that specific Gary. Like, I don't think like Gary Carter from the fucking Mets back in the day is going to have any of these problems.
Yeah.
It's just that one.
You know how I know we're living in a simulation?
Here we go.
Oh, God.
I hit my head on my garage door walking out of my house this morning.
Look at that.
I'm not kidding at all.
Look at that, dude. And then here he is.
Well,
Shitting his pants and just walking up, dude.
Is any of this real, Delco?
We'll find out.
Wait, it's definitely real.
We're going to find out today. So there was some fun, flirty games that you said we could play with you here,
right,
and try to get into it. What's the first one where we're asking different people numbers?
Oh, well, that's the second one, actually. But
No, that's the first one. The second one, he asked me, and I'll tell the audience this now.
Okay,
he asked me to write down 50 numbers completely at random in a row, and he says, email it to him. He looked at him before the show. I watched him do it. He was lost in thought, gnawing on his lip. You touched your junk a couple times, and then
you got to adjust.
And then I said, "Look, we'll wait till the end of the show, because I want to see if you can do this. I'll read you off all 50 numbers. You said you could say them backwards and forwards. That one I want to save to the end, because if you're that good, you're that good. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know, though, because he's already memorized those. I think that should come first. Then he's going to have to, because now he's going to have to memorize a whole new
Too
set
bad.
of numbers.
If you're the memory expert, you're the memory expert.
But then you've got to give him more time to rememorize the other set of numbers. That's not how it works, right?
That's not how this works.
So this is good cop, bad cop. I have watched enough YouTube interrogations to know that this is good cop, bad cop.
I'm the good cop in this one, dude.
Are you?
Yeah.
I would never be a cop.
This is a real test.
Break too many laws.
This is a real test right here. So what's the first one where you're asking for people for numbers?
So, okay, so let me preface this by saying what will make this more difficult. So I just memorized a 60-digit number, right? You have to store that in a mind palace, right? I have a primary mind palace that I use all the time. I've stored that in my mind palace. Now we're getting ready to do a second demonstration right back to back. If I put this on my first mind palace, there's no way. I will confuse the numbers.
Okay.
So I'm going to have to, in essence...
Then I'll do the first one first.
No. What he's saying is he's going to create a secondary mind palace to store this new set of numbers at.
Yeah.
So in your mind, this palace exists in your mind?
Yeah, think of it like a childhood bedroom or something like that.
Exactly.
A place that you walk into every day of your life for a while. You know every fucking inch of that place, and you can go place the image, the picture of a number underneath a book that sits on your desk all the time or something like that, right?
Okay.
That's I guess reductive, but
I know
like
what you're saying, because I'm thinking of my bedroom at home currently right now. Yes, I could walk
like if something's out of place, you would know, right?
Correct.
Which means you would have memorized that place.
Yes.
So this is what we'll do. It's going to be much more difficult, but I'm a big boy. Let's go. Colton and y'all, we're going to have to write this down or track it.
And Gary, too, back there.
Yeah, okay. So
put that about there you go.
There we go. Colton, give me, and we'll get about a 20-digit number here. Colton, give me a 2-digit number. 69.
God damn it! Shocking.
Everybody in the room is going to be 69.
Asshole. It's just going to be 6969.
It's MacGruber.
How about a 2-digit number?
24.
24. Okay.
17.
Okay, that's good. But let me pace it if you could. 17. How about a 2-digit number?
98.
98. All right.
Gary, do you have a microphone?
11.
Okay, let me pace it if you could. But next one's 98 and then 11. Okay. How about we go back to, oh, hang on one second. So maybe I already messed up here. Can I repeat it so far?
Yep.
It's 6924. And then after the 24, is it 179811?
Yes.
Okay, we're good. The guy over here in the red hat? 23. Michael Jordan. Got it.
I was going to say Jordan, you fuck. Okay.
Y'all are taking all the good numbers.
I know.
How about a 2-digit number?
47.
47. Okay. Colton? 15. 15. All right. We're going to do 2 more.
33.
33. That's my favorite number. 33 represents my mom. She passed away 2 years ago, almost exactly. A 2-digit number? 71. So, all right. I called on y'all 10 times. So that is a 20-digit number. I don't know if I got this 100% right or not, but I like to try. I believe that number, I don't see it anywhere, but I'm going to close my eyes just in case anybody thinks I'm cheating. I believe it should be 69 and then 241798112347153371.
That's right.
Okay.
Oh, man. Are you fucking kidding me?
Booyah, baby!
Shit, Ron. Shit.
You should just commit Harry Carey right now.
No.
Yeah.
Hey, by the
Cut
way,
your own head off.
For
Do
the
it.
for the
Coward.
audio listeners, I really want to point this out. So Dan Holloway wrote this down on his computer and then turned the computer away from him, so you couldn't see Dan's computer. That was real and legit. Jesus Christ. No,
Dan,
dude.
would you like me to say it backwards?
Sure,
Dan?
yeah.
I'm just kidding. If I could do that, I'd be on that show on the National Geographic Channel, Brain Games. And I am. That number going backwards is 17335 and then 7432 and then 1189 and then 714296.
Correct.
Jesus Christ, dude.
What do you got to say now, you bitch?
Oh man, he's good.
God
I appreciate
damn,
the
that's crazy,
good
man.
nature.
Holy shit. Never, I mean, not in a million years.
That took less than 5 minutes, by the way.
Yes.
To memorize a 20-digit number forward and backwards.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
we
I mean,
got a
it's pretty
50-digit
impressive.
one coming up, so.
Yeah, that one is, let's see, that one's 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Yeah, it's about 55, 56, 60 digits, yeah.
Okay. Are you ready for that one?
Well, I can say that one, but I want to say this before because I don't want to float my own ego here. There's nothing special about me. There's nothing unique about me. I talked to Dan before the show, and I've listened to him. You know, I follow him on Instagram. He's a smart guy. You're a smart guy. So it's just a system, and I'll walk you through the Mind Palace system here in a second. But I want to emphasize, I'm not trying to puff my own ego up, although I do enjoy doing this, and I do enjoy proving you wrong.
Yeah, because at a exactly, but at a dinner party or a function, this is one of those party tricks that is awesome and fascinating, and no one else probably in the room can do it.
You're absolutely right. You know, it's going back to the Spanish analogy. I ask people, they say, "I can never do that." Could you learn Spanish? Yeah. Well, Spanish isn't necessarily. People are impressed if you are fluent in more, but they kind of slough it off. But since not many people know this language, it just blows everybody away. But it's the same comparison. It's real similar.
Well, you've done some pretty unique things as well. Like you memorized all the names of every U.S. Service member that died in Afghanistan, for example.
Yeah, so I started teaching memory seminars when I was 18 years old.
So you started doing this bullshit when you were a kid?
Yeah, 6 weeks out of high school.
Oh, wow.
I got it. I took a job. I took 6 weeks out of high school. I took a job as a telemarketer and selling memory courses. So about 10 years later, I was 28. I did the math just in my head. Pretty impressive, right? 10 years later, I was 28, and it was September 11th. So most people don't join the military when they're September 11th, but my friend and I, after September 11th, as a response to that, we joined the military. I was deployed to Afghanistan in 2007. When I got back from Afghanistan, I was an IS, an intelligence specialist in the Navy, IS-1. When I got back from Afghanistan, that's when I started winning the memory championships, and I started breaking the records and that kind of thing. And then,
Was it just to do it?
Yes.
Okay. Or was there a financial reward?
0.
Really? Oh, so you don't get money for that
It's
shit?
one of those things
None.
like climbing Everest. You just fucking get to say you did it.
Exactly.
Oh boy.
Man, they should give you money for that. They give those little kids, those little Indian kids, shit for winning spelling bees. Like, you should get money for this, for Christ's sakes. It's a lot harder than that.
Hey, I'm not going to argue with you, but it doesn't happen. But the reason I did it is so by the time I won my first memory championship was 2009. So I'd been teaching memory seminars for 18 years, and I'd been doing demonstrations like this. So for 18 years, I'm standing at the back of the room getting introduced, and the MC is saying, "We want to welcome up to the stage one of the top memory experts in the world." And it just didn't sit right with me. I'm like, what have I done to prove this? Did I just tell everybody I'm the top memory expert, or have I done something to actually prove it? So it was just a thing, an integrity thing for me. I wanted to play with the big boys. I wanted to prove that I could do what they do and then go back to my world. And that's what I did. I won the 2009 and 10 USA Memory Championship. I played in their world a while. In 11 and 12, I came in second place. But
what's the testing lab? I've never watched one of those.
Yeah, me neither.
What does it entail?
And then how do you come in second? Is it like the spelling bee, like that you see on television?
Is it like words and then numbers? I mean, what else would you do? It seems like you can only memorize either words or numbers, right?
Yeah. So there's in the United States, there's 6 events. The first event is how many names can you memorize? They have a sheet of paper and it has 200 or 300 photographs on it, and first and last names underneath it. And they let you look at it for 15 minutes. Then they take it away and they give you another sheet, the same pictures, but in randomized order.
And blank, so you write the names
Exactly.
in? Okay. Interesting. Shit.
So every correct name that you get right, spelled right, you get 1 point.
Okay.
So my top score in that is I memorized 155 names in 15 minutes. The next event is they'll give you a sheet of paper with 400 digits on it, and they'll give you 5 minutes to study it, and then you memorize that, and then they take the paper away and they give you another sheet of paper. I held the record for that for a couple of years, or 1 year, 167 digits in 5 minutes. And then the next event is deck of cards, same thing. You memorize it, reassemble it. Then at this point, there's 50 people in the room. They eliminate it down to 8. These 8 go up on stage, and it's like a survivor thing. You know, they give everybody, it's the craziest thing. 5 people will walk up, and so imagine this, there's 8 people up there, 8 memory athletes, that's what they call them. 8 memory athletes on stage, 5 people walk up, and they say, "My name is Colton Smith. My address is this," and it's a fake address. "My address is this, the city and state is this, the zip code is this, the phone number is this, my birthday is this, my dog's name is this, it's this type of dog, it's this color, my 3 favorite foods are this, and my 3 favorite hobbies are this." Then he goes off stage, and 5 people do that. And then they bring those 5 people back, and they'll say, "Colton, person number 2, what's his phone number?" And they eliminate 3 people that way. And then there's another event where they eliminate 3 people. And then the last event, there's 3 people on stage. They give them an identical deck of 104 cards. And we all memorize the same randomized deck. And they hand you the microphone. You say ace of spades. I say 9 of diamonds, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You say 3 of clubs. You say queen of hearts. And we keep going until 2 people make a mistake. The last person standing is the USA Memory Champion.
Who was the first guy?
It's sudden death.
It's
then.
sudden death. Yeah.
Yes.
And I like that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Who was the guy who won it the first year when you came in second?
That was the second 2 years. He won in 9 and 10, and the second in 11 and 12.
Okay. Who was the guy that came in first?
Well, you know.
Some asshole.
Nelson Dallas. I'm joking. He's a good guy. He's a good friend of mine. He's a great guy. And in 2009, I competed against him, and he did very well. I think he came in second that year. 2010, he came in second. So we were like battling it out for about 4 years. But Nelson Dallas, and he's a wonderful guy.
You ever thought about killing him? I'm just saying, like, it'd be great if he wasn't. You would have been 4-time MVP.
I've told him that many times.
4 is better than 2. Like, we
told
look
him that
down
many
on LeBron
times.
James because he only has 4, and it's like, oh, you're not Kobe. You know, like, fuck off. You're not Jordan.
Yeah.
It's interesting that it ends in a sudden death like that. I like that. Now, one of the events you mentioned is memorizing the deck of cards. For some amount of time, you held the record for the quickest memorization of a randomized 52 card deck. and it was 1 minute and 27 seconds. And the record now is like 12 seconds and change.
Yes.
How did
Is it really?
That's like somebody running a 1 minute mile or something.
Right.
Shit,
Like how
dude.
did what? Because it's some Indian kid, right? That holds it right now. How did it go so fucking far? I mean, if you watch, like, we talk about the Jesse Owens Olympics a lot,
Yes.
right? But if
Yeah.
you watch the events they were doing and compare it to now, they're doing like. They wouldn't even medal in the women's sports now.
Right,
They
that's-
wouldn't even qualify for the Olympics in the women's sports now. That's how far it's come. But that's 100 years, right?
And for example, let's
90 years.
let's take Roger Bannister, who broke the 4 minute mile, the first
Yeah.
one to break the 4 minute mile. My wife and I were watching the Olympic trials because the Olympics start tonight. Love watching the Olympics. It's awesome. And she's like, "Why are you watching this?" And
Human
I go,
performance.
Well, human performance. One, two. She in particular, she goes, "Why are you watching female track athletes right now?" And I go, and here's
And
my
why
answer.
are your pants around your ankles?
Why is a belt around your neck and there's baby oil all over yourself and you're about to get on a stool?
Yeah, why is it?
There was no stool.
But I told her, I go, as I was walking by the TV to grab a beer and wait for real athletes, the men to come on, the announcer, no lie, said, "Yeah, so, the winner here will finish sub 4 minutes in a mile." And I was like, "For women?"
Wow.
I was like, "There's no way." And so I told Jessie, my wife, and she goes, "Come on." She's like, "A woman can run a sub 4 mile?" I go, "It's what they said."
You know what it is, though? It's never just one person that does it. Because 2 years before this kid broke the record, I think it went all the way down to 13.9, and now it's at 12.74. To memorize 52 cards, by the way.
Right.
But like, it's never just one person. All of a sudden, everybody's running a sub 4
exactly-
minute
Yes.
mile.
So,
Exactly
and that's the
So
weird
that's what
thing.
I'm curious. Like, what developed in memorization all of a sudden between now and 15 fucking years ago that dudes are able to do this shit?
But
now?
but even in that trial that I was telling you, Dan, you're right. There was two women
Yeah.
that finished
Oh, yeah.
under a
It's
4
never
minute
just
mile.
one.
And
It's
I was
never just
like,
one.
It was unbelievably impressive.
It's like
to see.
nobody knows they can do it until somebody does it, and then all of a sudden everybody fucking does it.
Yeah, why is
it's so
that?
wild?
I think, first of all, I think you're right. I think it's a mental barrier. It's the Roger Bannister 4 minute mile. There's 100% there's validity to that, and that's a big part of it. Another huge part of it is the more you can compress information, the faster you can memorize it. So let's use this analogy. You want to memorize a 50-digit number, and you have a picture for every single digit number, 0 to 9. 7's dice, 6 is a 6-shooter, 5 is a star, and you have a picture for every single digit number. So you get a 50-digit number, you got 50 pictures, right? Well, what if you could compress that and you could have a picture for every 2-digit number? Now you only need 25 pictures. Let's compress that a little more. You get a picture for every 3-digit number. Now you could memorize a 50-digit number with 17 images and one left over. So, or just 17 images. So deck of cards is the same way. Back when I started, people were almost memorizing one deck at a time. I mean, one card at a time, 52 images. And there was something on the scene, and it was just breaking through and I heard about it in 2009. It was called Character Action Object. It's where you can combine 3 cards together. So that's what I did. I combined 3 cards together, and I set the record. There's a guy named Joshua Foer. He wrote a book called Moonwalking with Einstein. He's a friend of mine. I don't get anything by mentioning his book. It's a great book, though. Bill Gates recommended his book. In his book, he talks about how he memorized a deck of cards, and he set it down, and then he said, "Oh, shit, I just set the record for the fastest to memorize a deck of cards." I'm the guy who broke Joshua Foer's record. Joshua Foer was doing 3 cards at a time. I'm doing 3 cards at a time. The guys now who are doing it so fast, they have compressed the information to 6, 7, 8 cards at a time. So they're just needing 4 or 5 pitchers.
But are you guys in contact with one another? And do they does he call you afterwards and say, "Hey, congratulations, how'd you do it"?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great world. It's a nerd tournament, and these guys are really, we're competitors. We want to beat each other when the game is on, but there's really nobody we dislike. And Joshua Foer, he's a Washington Nationals fan, and I'm a Rangers fan. We'll go back and forth on that. And Nelson Dellis, he's a basketball fan. We're all good friends.
There's somebody I'm looking up here, and maybe you already know who this is. There it is. Mary Lou Henner.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mary Lou Henner is one of like 18 people in the world who remembers every single second of every single day since birth.
Right.
That's something else.
It is.
That's not a technique.
It's not. It isn't a technique, but you're born with that. Do you know that story and why that is? I mean, because I wouldn't want to know that.
I wouldn't either. It's called an autobiographical memory or an eidetic memory, and it's where you can literally, we all remember where we were on September 11th or when the Challenger exploded like that. We know where we were on these days, but Mary Lou Henner knows every day, and there's no explanation for it other than it's a natural ability. I don't know how she's doing it. I don't think anybody knows how it's done. Now, I will say this. Sometimes I am skeptical. I mean, like, how do you... But they do test them, and they do seem to pass the test, but it's such a small world of people who can do that. She's one.
So with her, they ended up doing a 60 Minutes piece, and then, they ran them through psychologists and all that. I mean, every test you can imagine.
Right.
Along with, I think it was maybe 11 people, so 12 total. And, yes, they all had the same thing. None of them can describe why,
Right.
and then they ran him through a battery of tests, and then the interviewer went back to 2 years old memories and things like that were in the crib and everything else, and that's just wild to me. And again, this was all self-taught for you.
Yeah, that is some natural ability. There's nothing. Here's the core of the system. Here's what I was thinking of when I memorized that 20-digit number. So when I was 18 years old, I took a memory seminar. And when I was 18 years old, I was still living at my mom's house. I mapped out her house. 5 pieces of furniture in my room, 5 in the bathroom, 5 in the other room, 5 in the kitchen, 5 in this room. 33 years later, I still use that house to memorize data. So you say 69. Well, I got to have a picture for that. I'll let you gentlemen be creative and guess, what we can use for
it's you and
69.
another dude.
Yeah.
No.
What, Ron? What?
There's a lot of things in my life that I'm confused about. That ain't one, all right? There's a lot of things I'm like, I don't know. Do I really like the Rangers or the Astros? But no, that I know, okay?
It's probably the Cancer horoscope sign.
Oh, exactly. So I put that on the first piece of furniture in my house, right? So I see that image of the Cancer or whatever, another picture for 69. Then I moved to the next piece of furniture. You said 24. So I imagined myself with 2x4s, and I'm boarding up that piece of furniture. The next piece of furniture I moved to in my brain, and y'all said 17. Well, I think that my sister used to always read 17 magazines, so I imagine my sister was on the top of that piece of furniture reading that magazine, and she fell off the piece of furniture. You take what you want to recall, you turn it into a picture, and you store it on a location in your mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what if you live in a shitty little place like probably Gary? I don't actually know what Gary's house looks like. I know there's a bunch of lizards inside. But I don't know what it
I've
looks
seen
like.
a lot of reptiles. Anybody who's got reptiles is a fucking problem.
I got lizards outside my house, Dan. There is a snake I have in my house.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's a reptile.
There's lizards all over. I don't know about at your place.
Yeah.
But they're fucking everywhere, in
yeah.
South Texas. God damn it. My dogs won't stop chasing them. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah.
But what if you live in a small place? Like, I'm asking because I don't know what people's situation is, but this isn't something that you require an exact memory of your specific bedroom or your childhood bedroom to do this. You can map it onto anything, right?
No, and going back to a question you asked, 10 or 15 minutes ago, you asked me about the Afghanistan names.
Yeah.
This is a good time that I'll go back to that question. I got a little sidetracked and I started talking about the memory tournaments, but it'll answer the question you're talking about right now. If there's 2,400 people, you're going to need 2,400 locations. So there's 2,400 U.S. service members that died in the war in Afghanistan.
Right.
So I needed 2,400 pieces of furniture. So, and to do that, I don't have 24 pieces of 100 pieces of furniture in my house. So what I did is I live in downtown Fort Worth. I got my camera and I walked around downtown Fort Worth and I took 500 pictures as I walked in restaurants and bars and in Starbucks until they kicked me out. But then I go back home and I load these 500 images into a PowerPoint, and that becomes my mind palace where I can load 500.
So you're making one.
Making one.
Right.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to visualize it. You can't just well, maybe some people could, but you couldn't just construct a building from scratch in your own head and use that. Some people might be able to do that, but for the average person, you want to go to a physical location and look at it, or at least a picture or something, right?
You know what? If somebody was asking me for advice on that, I would have answered it exactly the way you did. It is possible to make a fictional memory palace that only exists in your mind. But why do that when you can go for a walk?
That's just another thing you've got to memorize.
Exactly.
Well, what's the point of that?
People say they do it, and these are these savants or whatever, or they play video games. They play whatever game they like so much, and they make that game a mind palace.
That's a really good idea, actually.
So
I mean, even people that play sports games, making the stadium, not the specific stadium, but the field,
Yes.
a mind palace would be like the 10, 20, 30-yard line, right? Think of it that way.
Yeah, like 39 for me is the age that Anna Nicole Smith died. And that was a big deal for me because I used to jack off to her as a youth over and over and over again.
And then 2 is the number of people that O.J. Simpson brutally murdered.
Correct.
In Brentwood, California.
Yep. And it's things like that
Right.
really help me out.
The more emotional, I'd be honest with you, when after these memory tournaments, the reporters will go up to us and they'll interview the memory nerds, and they'll say, how did you memorize this number? You could see the guy in his mind making up something so he doesn't have to tell the reporter, well, I was jacking off to this girl or whatever, because the more active or sensual or whatever you can make it, the more you're going to remember it.
It's true. Look, it was February 8th, 2007 when we lost that princess. So
Yeah. You know what I think we should do? We should give Gary like a fucking 1,000-digit number and just ambush and beat the shit out of him every day.
Yeah.
And when we're done, yell 2 digits from the number.
Yeah.
Just do that for 500 fucking days, and I think he'll have it. That's a year and a half.
I think my memory would get better at doing that. If I beat the shit out of Gary, my memory would be a lot
Just like
stronger.
wail on him with a fucking, not even something crazy like a wiffle ball bat, but one of the heavier ones. So he's
Yeah.
not going to take any permanent damage, but it's going to suck.
I want to cut the handle off and fill it full of quarters.
Wham!
Yeah,
Wham!
absolutely
32!
just
Wham! Wham! And just fucking leave.
Yep. Yeah.
For 500 consecutive days.
But boom, I think of Wham, George Michael, and then also I think of
Yeah.
beating the shit out of Gary, and that's 2 gay guys fucking to me. Because Gary's gay and so is George Michael.
Yeah,
and
but only in
both
truck
love
stop
AIDS.
restrooms, not all the time.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
Which you can tie in a truck stop to that as well.
Yeah.
Use that as a mind palace.
Yeah.
Here's the ironic thing. My picture, every 2-digit number I have a picture for. My picture for the number 63 is George Michael. So it's
My
not-
George, the one I just said?
Yes.
Why?
Why? I'm not a fan of him. He had some good songs, I guess, but that's
I
not
will
why.
be your father figure. Put your tiny hand in mine.
Speaking of hand,
dude.
that's how you got arrested.
That's a song.
Sure
about,
is.
that's a song just about grooming young men.
It sure is.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
yeah,
I,
so-
okay.
No, it's fine. You're a big fan of that.
It's
You
good.
just said live on air you're a big fan of
no,
that.
he said
so
he's
it's
not a
like,
big fan of George Michael.
Here's the...
Too bad. Pick
here's-
a different person then.
And then
change your memory
and
palace,
then
disgusting
then
fuck.
you went on to recite a song of his. So it seems like maybe
Yeah, I didn't know the song.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe
you
you're-
knew the song.
Yeah, well, I used to be gay. So, you know,
Well, so
I prayed it away.
in the memory world, the number 63, 72, 95, these...
Oh, yes.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. What is that?
That was a stupid thing. I thought I put it in airplane mode. Memory guy
Oh,
forgot.
don't worry about it. So,
No, what was
couldn't
the
remember
song,
that,
though?
could you? You fuck.
You had me overloaded. You had me overloaded.
What's the song?
That's Johnny Cash, A Boy Named Sue.
It's fine.
Oh, I'm a big fan of
Get away
Did I
with
just
that.
prove I'm
Yeah.
not gay?
No, well,
Yeah.
open that box.
No.
well, yeah, because
No,
I
we're on YouTube today.
Oh, we are? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say that noise, like if it was that one, then things would be bad.
Not on YouTube.
Yeah, we'll play it afterwards. We'll play it after the show for you. You can open that box after the show.
This box?
Dick
Yeah.
all over.
Okay.
You can open it after the show.
Okay, we'll do that after the show.
Yeah. And then point that mic inward there. There you go.
So
Not supposed to say
let
the
me
N-word.
let me get myself off the hook here real quick. Every digit 0 to 9, you have a letter assigned to it, right? So 1 is T, 2 is N, 3 is M, 4 is R, 5 is L, 6 is G or J. 7,
Why not do them in order with the alphabet?
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity.
You could. You certainly could. I'm
just wondering if there's a reason you didn't specifically do that.
Yeah, I didn't. This is known as the major system. So I did not create this. A guy.
So it probably works for a reason then. And
Yes,
shouldn't
it
be-
does,
okay.
because these letters are common letters. You know, when you play Wheel of Fortune, you pick the common letters in the last round, you know. So these are more common letters. It's easier to make words with these letters. This is known as the major system. It's been around about 200 years. A guy named Gregor von Feingold created it in Germany. But he said 6 is G or J and 3 is M. So I got GM. I guess I could have used General Motors, but I used George Michael, and I will regret it for the rest of my life.
Well, now you will.
Now I will.
Yeah. Especially when he changes the ringtone on your phone.
Yeah, dude. I will be your father figure.
You're never going to forget that
Put
fucking
your
face.
Tiny hand in my... It's the tiny hand that always gets me.
Yeah,
in
that
this
is a
song.
little creepy. That's
It
a little
is.
creepy.
It is. You ready for the big boy test?
Yeah, man.
You sure?
Well, no, but yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm not afraid of making a mistake, so I'm ready to go.
I think you are afraid.
Oh, well, let's see.
I'm kidding. Okay, so earlier in the show, I typed out 50, 60 numbers
Yeah, I
in a
think
row
it's close to 60-digit number.
at random.
Right.
You said you could memorize all of them in a row and then backwards as well.
Probably.
Probably. And then I emailed it to you. That was before the show started. Now, obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, what?
Go ahead. That's when I took my phone off airplane mode so I could get your email.
Oh, got it. Okay. All right.
He's blaming you.
Yeah,
he's
blaming you.
blaming me for having gay music. That's fine. But as you guys are watching the show on YouTube, you've not looked at the phone, all the other shit. So this is totally legit. We got listeners here in the studio. I also made you. What's your name? Kane. I also made Kane. So his is easier because I think of cocaine. Kidding. I had him screenshot this. That's on my computer now. So he has it as well over there. I have it here. And then you've not checked your email as promised throughout the show.
No, I haven't.
No, I know you haven't because we've been talking, and that would have been difficult. So go ahead, and this was totally at random where I was just typing away.
Yeah, and this is ice in the kicker. This was an hour ago. So
Yes, it was.
Let's see how if I'm a Buffalo Bill kicker or if I'm a
Pedro
You're a
kicker,
Scott
yeah.
Norwood
Yeah,
or
Scott
you're an
Norwood.
Adam Vinatieri. About to find out today.
Okay, so if I mess up, please let me know. But I'm going to get pretty close too. It's 909876 and then 4392678654. And then I believe it's 23 right there, and then 1425, and then 67890764563425679. And then I think it's 14, and then 50987652. And then this is where I'm a little shaky. I'm going to go with 34. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Then I think we're good. 61 and then 234598. And then this is a little shaky too, but I think it's 7654, and then is it 13245?
Yes.
Booyah, baby.
Holy shit. You've got that as well, correct?
Wow.
Okay.
He's giving a thumbs up over there?
Yeah.
Wow, dude. That is fucking nuts, man. I mean, I was just completely at random. Like,
Yeah.
there's no rhyme or reason to any of these numbers at all.
Well, and again, the message is whatever you want to remember, turn it into a picture and store it on a piece of furniture in your house.
But what is your picture for this?
So my
Well, he just told you. Like
Well, no,
every two digits
underst-
is a picture of
I
somebody.
understand that, but you're going through 60 numbers, and I gave that to you an hour ago.
So he has to remember 30 pictures.
Yes, in essence. Yes.
That's still so many. Like, no, dude.
But not if you do it all the time. You get like you have a system, right?
That's nuts.
If there's something you do, if you're a person that works with like social security numbers or phone numbers or something all day, you're just like punching them in without even thinking about that shit. It's just happening, right? I'm sure there's something that you do in your life that you can do on autopilot, like driving a car. What do they call it? Highway hypnosis?
No, I have to turn the fucking thing. Even
No,
how
I'm
many
not
times
talking
have I
about-
asked you for your address.
I'm not talking about directions. I'm talking about operating the vehicle. It's called highway hypnosis.
Oh, yeah.
You do it without even thinking about it, right?
Yes.
That's how your fucking brain works. You create shortcuts to make your brain more. Your brain's optimized for efficiency, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you do that stuff all the time, you're going to get really good at it.
Man.
You will.
So can you do it backwards? You said you could do it backwards also.
Yeah, it's a little more difficult. The last 4 or 5 digits are going to be the most difficult, but if I can get past the initial last ones, let's go. So it'd be 54, and then 231. Is that right there?
Mm-hmm.
If I get
That's correct.
And 4, 5, 6, 7. So I got through that?
Yep.
Okay, then I think I'm golden. It would be then 8, 9, and then 5, 4, 3, 2, and then 1, 6, and then 4, 3, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 5, and then 4, 1, and then 2, 9, and then 7652, and then 4365, and then 467098, and then after that 98, it is 76, and then 52, and then 4132, 456876, and then 2934, and then 67, and then 8909.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah.
That's correct. And the wildest thing about it is you were going so fast that I had to catch up to you just reading it, which is even wilder to me.
It's a system. I'll tell you I've done a lot of demonstrations that I was proud of, but one I'm really proud of is in 2009, Fox News had me on writing out the Afghanistan wall for 3 or 4 years in a row. Mm-hmm. So in 2009, I emailed them. I said, hey, you want me to do this again? And I had an idea they were going to say no because they'd done it 3 years in a row on Memorial Day. And I said, I tell you what, if you don't want me to do that, I'll write out the United States Constitution, all 4,543 words, and I'll do it on the 4th of July. It's 6 weeks from now. And I hit send, and then as soon as I hit send, I'm like, oh, gosh, I hope they don't ask me to do that. They emailed us back, and they said, Ron, you've done the Afghanistan memory wall, but we're not going to do that. We want you to do the Constitution. See you July 4th. And I'm like, oh, my God. I did not know the Constitution other than We the People in May. July the 4th, using the Mind Palace, I wrote all 53 words.
That's unbelievable. Live on air?
Yeah. Yeah, I wrote it out on a wall. But
That's
it's
crazy.
the same concept. Instead of putting numbers in a spot, you're putting words in a spot. Would it be okay if I mentioned my Instagram?
Well, absolutely. Fire away now. I still have some more questions. But,
okay.
But go ahead and mention your Instagram.
My Instagram's Brain Athlete.
Brain Athlete.
That's it.
Okay.
And then he's got a fucking a YouTube channel that's got about 500,000 subs on it too.
Yeah, I don't get the views you guys get, but I got some subs.
We'll see. We get throttled for everything.
It's also at Brain Athlete on YouTube.
Thank
so
you.
follow both of those.
Yeah, because the other part I wanted to talk about, because usually we ask, at the end of the show. No, this is totally fine. Because there is, I'm looking on your website right now. It's ronwhitetraining.com. So people can hire you to either speak at a convention, conference, school, or a company, or teach people how to do this. And I think it's very, very important. How much time does it take to train somebody like me?
Well, a little bit of extra time. No, it would.
No, it would. I agree with you.
It would.
I actually agree with you because I just think there's too much going on, and I've said this to Dan in the past, off air. I feel like my brain is a hard drive,
right? And
I feel like this space is filled up.
Well, that's what Arthur Conan Doyle used to say as well. Like, they've made it different in the different iterations of Sherlock Holmes over the years. But I can't remember which book it was in, one of the original books. But Sherlock didn't know something like very specific, like that everybody knows. And he's like, well, I don't have room for that shit in my head because it doesn't matter to me.
Right.
I think it was, in the latest iteration, it was something about the solar system. But back in the day, it was something else. I don't remember what it was. But that's something, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, maybe you're right. Because I've never missed one of my kids' functions,
right,
or I've never been late to pick up my wife, or anything important like that. I've never missed a meeting or overslept for a meeting,
right,
or a call or something like that. Maybe it is just that there's a certain importance I've placed on things, and then everything else is kind of like, all right, cool. But if I'm doing let's say a grocery list, for example, my wife will have to text me the picture of what the item is.
Right.
If she said 5 items,
right,
go get milk, eggs, cheese, bacon, and cereal. I wish it was cocaine. That's a guy that just delivers. But I'm kidding. But I need her to text me those 5.
Right.
I can't remember it, and I'm just like, hey, or a picture. Like, send me the picture of this, and then that way I definitely won't fuck it up.
Right.
What would you do for somebody like me to even start things like that?
And first of all, and I made that joke and I said extra time, but that's just giving you a little ribbon back for me. But I will say this. But
I truly believe that I would need extra time.
I don't know about that because I'm going to say something, and I mean this. I do a decent amount of interviews and tests like this because people want to see it. Today I walked in. You maybe knew there was going to be a memory guy sometime, but you didn't know it was today. That was obvious. But we sat down and we went. The questions you have asked are like golden questions. You know, it's great questions for somebody who did not know that. So I've been sitting here thinking, how could this guy have been asking these questions and not know? So you're a sharp guy. How long would it take the average person to get good at their memory? I'm convinced 3 weeks you could. I think in 2 days you could be memorizing 30, 40, 50 words, like random. In 2 or 3 weeks you could be memorizing a 50-digit number.
Well, how much time per day then are you spending with clients to help them do that?
Oh, so when I speak at a conference, I'll do an hour keynote or a half-a-day workshop, and I'll give them. Then after that, I'll give them exercises to follow up on, or they'll take my online course, and that is specifically spaced out for 30 days. So, but I think it's that 30-day window is a great window.
Okay.
But I tell you what, after an hour, if I had an hour to just teach you memory, I tell you what I would do. I would say, let's pick 15, 20 spots around this room. And then I would have you say those spots. Jersey, bookshelf, light, desk. And I would have y'all say them forwards and backwards until you knew that number 8 was the skeleton over there. And that would take us 20 minutes. Once we had that down, then I would start giving you information to imagine around the room, maybe the Bill of Rights or the 27 Amendments or something like that. In an hour, you could be memorizing 15, 20 words.
That's wild because what about you, Dan? Is there things that you can remember from the past, like word for word, certain things?
Yeah, sure.
What are they, for example? Because I think this will go back to what you're talking about importance and everything.
For me,
else.
it's mostly like quotes and things I've read, I guess. But as a child, the reason I got into this stuff and started learning about memory in the first place was a combination of two things. One, it was Arthur Conan Doyle, reading Sherlock Holmes books back in the day, right? I was just a huge fan as a child. And two, for some reason, I don't know why, maybe I'm just a fucking weirdo or something, but I had a big baseball card collection, and I would lay all of the cards out in their positions for all the starting lineups of all Major League Baseball teams and memorize who the starters were for every team. I could tell you up and down their lineup.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know, I wasn't doing it for any purpose other than I was just fucking bored and enjoyed baseball, to be honest.
Right. But it was out of enjoyment.
Yeah, that's where it started. And then it turned to flipping the cards over, and I would memorize. I could tell you what the fucking, Yankee second baseman had, how many hits he had that year and shit like that. Right. But I wasn't really trying to, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just, I was doing it somewhat the right way by visualizing it, you know what I mean? But I didn't know that I was doing it correctly. So some of it probably just stuck with me, to be honest. I think I got into a habit of it, and it stuck with me. And I'm still, I don't do anything like what he does. I know what it is, but I've never actually tried to do it. I probably should, just to see how efficient it could
Gotcha. Because to go back to what you were saying earlier about this, of hey, you knew the memory expert was coming on the show. How do you ask these questions and everything else? I feel genuinely like Dan and I are two of the very best at this job at podcasting.
I would say so.
And but here's why. I know the answer to that.
Right.
I have a curious mind, and every single day I realize how lucky I am to come on and talk to people that I would never in a million years get to meet in real life, talk to in real life. So when you were here and I had the memory experts, circled on my thing, it wasn't your name. It was what you did, and I was like, "Oh my God, this skill set is so fascinating to me that I couldn't wait to talk to you." And sometimes I talk too fast because I'm too excited to talk to people. But that's just a curious mind. That isn't necessarily. I don't need to write anything down for that, just because I'm curious about life and interesting people and all that other stuff. But as far as memorizing it, no. And chances are, and Dan will tell you this, if you didn't have the name Ron White, I would have fucked it up right at the top of the show.
Yeah, he can't pronounce anything.
It's called you something different, So,
well, I'll say this. One thing that the curious mind or whatever. A lot of people, in conversations, they'll be talking, right? And the other person's not actually listening. They're just thinking about what they're going to say next. And so they're not asking follow-up questions. You guys are asking follow-up questions. You're listening. And what that tells me is that you probably would be good at memory because you're able to focus, you're able to listen, you're able to pay attention. Can I give an example of something you may be able to remember from a while back? And I don't, let's just pick something at random that you probably haven't thought of in 10 years. All right, stop, collaborate, and listen.
Ice is back with a brand new edition.
Yeah, look, so when something gets ingrained in our memory, it is there. And we don't have to review it. We don't have to focus on it. It's just there. But to get it in that process, it's going to take a little bit of review.
Yeah, like February 8th, 2007. Anna Nicole Smith died. That one got me.
It's the day the music died, some people
Well, I've got the Challenger explosion.
Right.
I've got 9/11, and then I've got February 8th, 2007. Those are the three for me where I was just like, oh man, we lost one. We lost the good people.
Well, do you know when
people in this States?
Do you know when I heard about we lost Anna Nicole Smith?
20 minutes ago on the show.
Yes. I'm like, oh shit! This is heartbreak. How am I going to continue with the show?
I know.
He breaks. This is the way you tell me.
It's rough, yeah.
Isn't that rough too?
Yeah.
God, it's rough. But yeah, if you're out there and you need Ron, I no lie, I wish I would have had you at the start of my career back in the day. I lost a massive job one time because I couldn't memorize things fast enough.
Well,
massive. It was do you remember that show, the TV show, The OC?
I've heard of it.
It was a massive show. It was on for like
I know
5
that show.
years.
Yes, I know the show.
Everybody got very, very rich off of it. I got called the night before to screen test for it, and it was 15 pages worth of dialogue.
Wow.
Well, every screen test you do at a studio they keep it in this vault, and they keep it forever. So, like, if you fuck it up, they'll pull it out and be like, hey, dude, this guy's not good enough. And I'd called my agent, and I said, hey, dude, this is too much dialogue for one night. I won't be able to do it, and I'm afraid if I go into Fox and this lives forever,
right.
And it was for the lead. It was for Ryan, the bad boy character, and I was just coming off of like a bad boy character and all that other shit. And they were like, hey, dude, you're right there. You're in this. And I was like, oh, shit. I didn't want to fuck it up, and so I said, I can't go in for this. But that was I think it was the only time out of 10,000 auditions that it was that much dialogue, but they needed it right then on that day because they were shooting next week, and that was it, and it cost me the job. And I had to say, no, I can't do this. That's why Topher, I guarantee you, called, because you will get those calls sometimes out of nowhere, and it really is fucking difficult memorizing all that other shit. So a guy like you, I think not just in acting, but in CEO world and everything else is vital and really, really important. So please, if you're out there and you need somebody like Ron, do it. It's really helpful.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And I think we have a pretty recent current event. If you are in a powerful position and your brain and memory isn't so good, if you're thinking slow and bumbling around, people look down on that, and they're going to ask you to step aside or whatever. We
have no idea what you're talking about.
No, you don't. You guys try to play it so even keel.
Yeah,
you don't go to the controversial stuff. I know that.
Never on this show. Ever.
Are we right? I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
You're gonna. I did email the White House and told them I'd offer a memory training seminar. I never heard back.
Are you serious?
I did, but of course
I was going to ask that question. I was like, could you, like, for real? And look, we joke about Biden all the time, and obviously he stepped down and all that. Could a guy like you, no matter what he's going through, let's say it is dementia or Alzheimer's, could you help with that?
Yeah, and I do. I believe, and I have some sympathy for the guy because our brains will start slowing down as we age. It's the processing speed. The processing speed will slow down. And when you get to the point where it's Alzheimer's or dementia, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing the mind palace can do.
DMT might be able to help.
Maybe.
For real.
Have you done that?
I have not.
Okay.
I did my alcohol stint, and it was pretty crazy. And since then, I've been pretty tame. But I'm open to it. I've heard people talk about it with good results. But once your brain is decayed and it's starting to slow down like that, there's nothing you can do. However, scientists will tell us we cannot prevent Alzheimer's or right now until the doctors create a medicine. But naturally, we can't prevent Alzheimer's if we're destined to get it, or dementia. But what we can do is we can exercise, we can eat healthy, we can exercise our brain with memory exercises like we're talking about here today. That won't prevent it, but it might delay it. Maybe you'll get dementia at 82 instead of 78, right? So you can delay it a little bit.
Okay.
But you can't prevent it.
Cool, because I'll be calling you in like 2 years. I'm going to keep your number. But like, does Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune and things like that help?
I would say it I think playing trivia games or Jeopardy or crossword puzzles or whatever, it helps in the sense that you're keeping your brain active. You know, you're keeping the connections going and all of that. I'm against the games. You know, like you could download an app, you know, and that says
Wordle.
Yeah,
He means like gamified learning. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah, like the games, the apps that say, and I'm not going to mention any of their names, I guess, but there's apps that say, download our app, play these games, and your memory will get better.
Right.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
I think you're getting better at the game. I don't think you're actually, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I don't really
yeah.
think you're getting better at the whatever. A video game.
They don't teach you any technique to get a better memory. It's just games that can be difficult if you don't. You learn the strategy of that particular game, right? But you don't learn an overarching strategy, right? Like you can learn how. I guess you could learn how to sprint to the best of your ability. A golf swing might be better, right? Like Trump is a very good golfer, which we found out recently. A lot of people thought that was all smoke, but it turns out he's pretty fucking good.
Right.
But his swing looks like shit. If he had better mechanics, he'd be an even better golfer, probably, right? So like you can get good at one thing, right? But I think at anything else athletic, he's probably not going to be that great at it, right? Because he just doesn't have good physical mechanics. So I think that's what you're saying. When you learn actual memory techniques, you can apply that to anything. You can memorize anything after that, right? And it's not the same as just getting good at one particular game, right? Because those games, I've used some of those apps before. They don't actually teach you anything.
They don't.
Like there's nothing. You're not actually learning how to do it's not a skill,
Right?
Like you're just kind of fucking getting used to something. That's not the same thing.
Yeah. Fascinating show. This is the point in the program here. We get to the Drinkin Bro of the Week, which is someone who has inspired you or helped you become the person you are today. Who'd you like to give the Drinkin Bro of the Week to?
The Drinkin Bro of the Week. Somebody that's inspired me. Does it have to be a bro?
No,
Anybody.
it could be, I don't know, let's say Anna Nicole Smith. First name. If that helped you at some point in your life.
You know what? I don't want to be corny here, and I don't want to be cheesy, and I don't want to be.
You can. It doesn't matter.
Well,
Yeah.
it's gonna sound that way.
Most people say a parent.
Yeah.
It's my mom.
It's your mom.
She passed away 2 years ago, August the 10th, and I didn't appreciate her life, how much she went through, and how much hardship she had. And I didn't appreciate it, didn't understand it, because I didn't know it until I found her journals and all this other stuff. And I'm like, wow, this woman went through so much and handled it with so much grace. So to the point where nobody knew. So whatever's going on in my life, I need to learn to handle it with a little bit more grace. So that's my person right now. That could change over time, but my mom's fresh in my mind.
Okay. Interesting. Who else would it be? Who would change it, I guess? Like if Buzz Aldrin came in? Like we should be like, oh shit, that's better than my mom.
You know what? This question was asked to me before, and I have business mentors. I have a guy named Kyle Wilson who really rescued me 20 years ago, and he, you know, I was in the military. I had a security clearance, and I was about to lose my clearance because I had a $40,000 IRS debt. Well, that's not massive, but when you have zero money, that's massive. And this guy, Kyle Wilson, came along, and he said, Ron, I tell you what, I believe in you. I believe in what you're doing. I'm going to write you a check to pay that debt, and I'm going to mentor you on how to get better at selling memory, and you're going to pay me a commission until you pay me back. And I'm like, dude, that is so awesome. He's the reason I got to stay in the military, and he has been a lifelong friend. I've stayed at his house when I was going through difficult times. So my mom and Kyle Wilson are my two answers.
Awesome. Awesome, man. Cheers. And then tell everybody where they can find you.
Well, you know, Brain Athlete on Instagram or YouTube, or blackbeltmemory.com. If you want to earn a black belt in memory, like you can earn a black belt in karate, go to blackbeltmemory.com.
Okay, awesome. So at the end of this show, I always say the same thing. So it's easy. Go to iTunes, rate the show a 5-star, and leave a quick review. Also, head on over to Spotify. It's just a 5-star, and you can walk away because that's really all the advertisers care about. But I'm going to end it a little differently today. Give me that number that I wrote down one more time.
The number you wrote down one more time was 9098. 9876. Go to Brain Athlete on Instagram. After that, it's 4392, and then 6786. Brain Athlete 54, and then 23, and then 1425, and then 67890764, and then 5634256792, and then 1450. Brain Athlete on Instagram or YouTube. So after the 50, it is 98, and then 7652. And then after the 52, it is 346123, and then 4598, and then 7654133245, or blackbeltmemory.com.
Oh my God,
I wouldn't have been that promoting, but you put me on the spot.
That's incredible. Kane, walk up here with your phone real quick. Pop this into, just pop that, hold that up to camera. I know we're in a wide
have to
shot.
get closer.
It's not that. We're in a wide shot, Delco. If you're at home and you don't believe it, screenshot this and then
You're not going to be able to
zoom in.
see that.
I think you will, right?
No, you
Delco?
won't. It's the glare from the lights. You're not
You
gonna
think
be able
so,
to see it
Delco?
through the
No.
screen.
Okay. It'll be too close? All right. They had it at one point, I think. Close. There you go. Screenshot that. If you doubt him, you doubt anything that you've heard on this show today, it is true. 2 different people have verified it. It's insane. Go check out Ron White. You're an unbelievably fascinating person, and this was a fantastic show. We appreciate you being here. For D'Anthony Holloway, I'm Ross Patterson. This is the Drinkin' Bros podcast. Good night, everyone. Remember that, at least.